Tracy, are you set? Good to go? Whatever.
Yep. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, call this special board work session to order. Roll call, please.
Tom Novak,
Here.
Mike Eddy,
Here.
Mitzi Rashevsky,
Here.
Jean Reith,
Here.
Doris Parsons,
Here.
Justin Thomas, Corey Jones.
Here. The 6 members in attendance for the forum. The agenda before us.
Are you able to hear Corey? What you need? Corey, can you?
Can you hear me now?
It's a little better.
What about yelling though?
Okay. Any changes or additions to the agenda? If not, motion to approve it. I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay. Properly motion and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Agenda approved. Item A of our work session is our budget preparation for the 2020-2021 school year.
I think someone just has to let Carol know that we're ready.
Just talk to her. She can hear you. She's not in your
Through the
Can
mics.
you hear us, Carol? Can you start?
I can, yes.
There you go.
All right. I'm assuming you all have the bear model, the 3 different scenarios?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'd like some input on that. One of the questions that I had as I was doing this was, what is the board's goal? Are you trying to match revenues and expenditures, or are you willing to use some of your fund balance? Because that all comes into play on all this. I don't know that we're going to be able to balance the budget, but I just didn't know what your thinking was on it.
As you look ahead, Carol, we really need to get close to balancing the budget.
Tom, you're gonna have to just speak louder than I'm gonna go closer to Carol. Or she's not gonna be able to do it.
This doesn't work.
It does, but it's not very loud. I don't.
It's not going to pick up on the Chromebook.
Can you hear me now or not?
Yes, you can hear better.
Can you hear it, Carol?
I did not hear that.
Can you hear me now, Carol?
Now I can, yes.
Okay, my comment was we need to come pretty close to balancing the budget without using much fund balance as you look forward, because if we don't do it this coming year, we are going to be out of money next year, so that really needs to be our goal
Right.
here.
Is there money in the fund balance though, or at one time I remember you saying like 600,000? Is that the fund balance where the money is?
The 600,000, are you talking that loan, that cash flow borrowing? 600. If you look on the top sheet, on the top grid with the purple banner, the 1920 in the blue, you're going to see fund balance there of 2,338,000. That's what's projected to end this current fiscal year. And then that's what you'll start 2021 with that fund balance. But because we don't have a balanced budget right now, you're going to use, on that top scenario, you're going to use 1.188 million of it for that entire year. Which you will then leave 1.15 million for a fund balance at the end of the 2021 school year.
Carol, I'm with Tom that we need to come as close to a balanced budget as we possibly can, and not
Okay.
touch that fund balance.
So then look at scenario number 1. I know you said something about a 5% decrease for teachers only, so so I plugged that in, and I left the remaining staff at the 1.81 CPIU, but I wasn't sure if that was your intent or not, so that's why I did scenario number 2 with a 0 increase for the rest. So if the teachers are taking a 5% decrease, the rest of the staff would get a 0 decrease.
I think
You know what
actually,
your intent.
10th was,
Sorry?
the remaining staff was gonna take a 5%, at least, some of the administrative staff. Or,
Oh, I was under the impression it was a 5% decrease for just teachers.
no,
No.
no,
I thought it was across the board.
it was across the board.
I
Oh.
wasn't so sure about hourly, but I think that needs to be a separate discussion, but 5% for administration and 5%. And it could
I don't
possibly
think
be
your mic is,
more.
your mic isn't on.
You gotta talk.
Yeah.
You gotta talk to the mic or something.
Sorry. So, we could even see a further reduction with going to a part-time superintendent and a part-time business manager, depending
Business manager.
on our negotiations.
That is built in on the purple one, on the top one on that page.
Yeah.
I put in a 50% FTE for the business manager and for the district superintendent. And I based that on the business manager. I basically used mine,
Okay,
my wage, because I'm only there part-time, and I use 50% of Steve's. So when you do hire someone, you'll have different, more accurate amounts. And the other thing I want to point out to you that this is a budget that's just, it's very fluid. It's going to change, it's guaranteed to change, but you have until October to finalize it. So you can tweak and fine tune things for the rest up until October when it has to be finalized for the electorate. So if you have an amount in mind for those 2 positions, let me know and I can plug it in. And as I understand it, the 50% FTE makes those 2 people ineligible for health and dental benefits. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That is correct.
That is correct. Can you hear me, Carol?
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
I think the question that you might need an answer to, though, or feedback from the board is, what rate should you be budgeting for hourly staff? Is it
Right.
is it a 5%? Is it CPI? Is it 0? What was the pleasure of the board for budgeting purposes?
I don't think hourly staff, I would do as Missy said, do our hourly staff separate. I think a way, if we can do savings from hourly staff would be to limit or cut hours wherever we can. Because if you do a 5% increase for someone making, you know, it's such a
It's
difference in
nominal.
pay. I would prefer if we need savings there, that we look at hours rather than the actual dollar figure.
So
And
some-
especially to attract people, because if we cut, you know, 5% off $7 an hour in food service, if that's what we're paying, we're not gonna get anyone.
Now, some positions, be mindful that with the closure of an elementary building, you're going to be losing some staff members, so there will be some savings there to be determined.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Carol, I think that no increase would be, in salary would be the way that I would approach it, but I would do our support staff separately than our teachers and our administrators.
What do you think, Corey?
That's what's been reflected on that sheet you have in front of you.
That's
You
Yeah,
look at
the
the
orangish.
scenario number 1, that is a 5% decrease in the teacher wages, but it's a 1.81% increase for everyone else. And by everyone else, I mean the support staff, the custodians, the secretaries, the aides, food service people.
I thought we
That's what
discussed
that
it.
would look
No
like.
increase.
And then the scenario number 2 down in the gold header has a 0 increase.
Yeah,
It's not taking a decrease away from them, it's taking 5% decrease for the teachers only, and
Yeah.
a 0 raise for the rest.
Right, but I wouldn't give the support staff any, even the cost of living, the CPI. I wouldn't do any increase, I would do 0.
So you like orange.
I like a combination between purple and orange.
Well, you're not gonna, what you don't have in, scenario 2 is the closest one, but it also, what you need to do is reflect the 5% administrators.
remember.
In scenario
The scenarios 1 and 2 are inclusive of everything that's in the base. The 106 additional open enrollees, the Palmyra-Eagle closing and all that. That's reflected down below, only we changed the wages.
And that's with the current staff, is that correct? That doesn't include a reduction of staff, theoretical.
There are
So
15,
what you were saying, Steve.
Court staff, no, I don't know who's returning and who is not, so that's status quo. So
Status
that is probably going to decrease
That'll
by closing the.
That will decrease a lot.
Carol, the question was, do all of your scenarios include the 15 layoff teaching staff positions?
They do.
That was Michael's question. So it's not status quo, it includes those 15.
the difference is though, if there's support staff, that's not decided yet?
That's correct.
Okay, so then that's not a huge amount of money, but it is, it's something.
So to clarify, for teaching staff positions, all of those scenarios include the 15 individuals that have received layoff notices, which may or may not need to go through non-renewal. Your scenarios include the 15 teachers.
The scenarios include, yes, the teachers that, those 15 that are going to be leaving, and I reinstated the 50%. Originally, we had taken out all of the administrative team. They were all non-union, so I took them all out. Now we reinstated 2 principals and a part-time business manager and a part-time district administrator. That's all reflected in the top. And then from there, I moved down one and took a 5% decrease for just the teachers. And left the remaining staff at the 1.81% increase. And that's not the business manager or the administrator. The remaining staff, I need support staff. And then on the third one, I gave them a 0 increase. But what's in the top one is reflected in the other 2, with just those small minor changes.
I think you still need to decrease 5% for the reinstated 2 principals. Did you do that?
Okay. A 5% increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Decrease, okay.
So I thought I understood, and then I wasn't sure. I kind of got a little mixed up. So the 15 teachers that you're talking about are in scenario 2, or they're not in scenario 2?
They're in none of the scenarios.
Okay, so if we brought half back, they'd have to be added back in,
Correct.
which would increase the deficit.
Correct.
So this is without those 15.
That's my understanding.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm now clear.
But if you bring those back, you have students that have need to bring them back. So you'd have corresponding dollars to.
Right,
you'd have
or you
reason to
have
bring them back.
retirees or people going to other districts that we could bring them back to replace those. So it's still kind of a fluid number because depending on who may leave and what they were paid, and these are new teachers. So that, I mean,
They're all fluid numbers, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's-
No, we're not planning on that. We're sizing it to the student base we have right now. That's what laying the 15 teachers on.
So we don't need any of those.
Correct, Steve? We won't need any of those 15 back.
Well, you have, for example, an individual who you will be approving their retirement on Tuesday of next week. So that creates a vacancy for which you might issue a contract to one of those that potentially was laid off. So to answer the question, you have the ability to bring some of those people back as needed.
Probably a better way to look at it is we need X amount of teachers.
Correct.
So
Correct.
We need to get the org chart finalized so then we can start filling holes.
Correct.
Okay.
Carol, what other information or feedback do you need from the board relative to scenarios and potential costings now that you've got some general guidelines?
Well, the other thing that I had some questions on was, I think it's on an action item for the next for the board meeting on the 14th, but there's $25,000 in the Baird model for a transfer to Fund 50 as it's needed, you know, to balance that out. When Fund 50, if it doesn't pay for itself, there has to be a transfer from Fund 10 to make it whole. And there's 25,000 in there. So we're not going to be able to, per the letter from DPI, they are not going to endorse a request for an RFP from a food service management company. But they did suggest, however, that we contact a neighboring district and do a joint agreement. So I'm hoping that that would be a number that maybe would be freed up by doing something like that. We would have to do cost analysis on that yet, but I guess what I'm hoping is the board will allow us to proceed in conversations with Whitewater or whomever to get that going. So there's a potential of 25,000 on that. So that decision is kind of, you know, forthcoming, I know, but it might free up a little bit of money there. And there's 300,000, let me double check that one. The building projects that we had, I know it was 414,000, and I'm not sure how much of that the board is planning to do, if any, moving forward. So that's something the board needs to kind of think about. But again, you've got all this summer yet to work on that and take a look at the most important projects and make a decision.
Carol, going back to food service, we had met with Whitewater previously, and they did seem to be amenable to having some kind of a conversation, as you'll recall.
Yes, they did.
So I guess we need to find out if that's a direction the board would like us to start that conversation.
That's what I'm hoping, right, that we can pursue that and get some sort of an idea of what that is going to entail so that we can place a cost with it.
If it's just a discussion, then it's not harmful. Why not?
Yeah.
Right.
We should explore every option. It seems like this is one we should, so.
The only other variable that I can think of right now is the remaining weeks for open enrollment. I would think you'd be pretty much done with that by now. I would think someone who's going to open enroll would have done so by now. Currently, I'm projecting 106 in the model.
I looked at the numbers, there's certainly a lot of duplicates on there. The list
Certainly a lot of what?
duplicates, people applying to 3 different schools, and I still don't think they're gonna leave. So I just noticed that, but there's a lot of duplicate submittals on that.
Well, let's clean up the duplicates, and then what's that number?
106, or 107.
106, 107 with the duplicates or without? Without.
So by law, an individual can apply to 1, 2, or 3 districts in a single application. That's what is being referenced here. So you might have one child's name, but 3 applications.
No, right, I understand that part. Gene, are you talking
That's
that
what I was saying.
106 is without any duplicates?
Correct.
And Steve, that is total, I mean, that's not new, that's just total going out. I mean, that's.
Those are new, that being in addition to the 409 already up.
So those people don't have to open enroll, that's just a different list?
Unless the district requires a new application when a child moves from one level to another, or unless it's a family who's already out elsewhere that wants to go somewhere else, then they would have to reapply.
Okay.
So in some instances, to your point, those kids are already out and have not ever, in some cases, been here at all. In other cases, they're reapplying because they're moving from elementary to middle or middle to
counted in the 106?
There's what, maybe 6 that we think are, maybe that we can remove from open enrollment because they're an app that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, about that.
So they reapply and they don't have to.
Okay.
So you're, again, ballparking 100 to 110 as Carol suggested. Those are new, those are not continuing.
Do you remember last year when that happened? I know a lot said they were going to, and then a lot didn't. Do you
Correct.
remember what it was kind of?
I know that that's true, that everyone that applied didn't leave, and I also know that some who applied actually physically relocated, so then they're no longer open and rolled out because they're in a new resident district. But that's a small number.
And a lot of those 106 applied when they still hadn't been given a solid vision that were open.
Exactly.
You know, I think a lot of that was a panic at the beginning because we didn't really meet and didn't really say, yeah, we are open, we didn't tell anybody. So I think a lot of those people were like self-preservation for their kids, and they may not decide to go.
Which is fine, it's just a number we need to know.
Right.
Just, I was curious because it seems like it's a lot higher than it possibly would be, so it makes things look a lot worse than it possibly potentially is.
But using it for budgeting, I think that's a conservative good thing to do, is go worst case scenario.
Right.
So we're not, yeah.
Thank you, so do I. That's like the worst case scenario, and then you can always adjust it as you get the real number.
We have party because we're happy, but yeah, you don't want to go the other way.
So Carol, we're still looking at about $900,000 deficit in the best case
Yeah.
here. So the buildings and grounds, we can trim things back. That's historically where things have gone. That's always happened, where you just cut back to the very critical things you need to do. Do you see anywhere else we can cut $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 out of the budget to get us closer to zero on this?
That's a lot of money. You know, a big chunk is your salary benefits. That's the biggest part of your budget, and you've hit that pretty hard already. I don't know of anything right offhand, but I can certainly do a little more research. I think, you know, I haven't done any change or reduction in utilities, which we should see some savings in that by closing the one building. But I guess I'm not quite sure what percentage to use in that. I could look up what we paid at Palmyra and take that off of there. Let's see. And the other thing too is I think we're going to end up, when we did 1920 budget was done. I didn't do it, but that money that's there in that budget was for, they budgeted it for supplies and everything, but the money wasn't spent because staff members didn't buy anything because they thought they were going to be done on June 30th. It was going to be solved and all go away, but the money was still there. Well, now we're back in survival mode again, where we're going to be purchasing things, and then we get COVID thing. So they're not buying anything yet. So I do anticipate a bump in your fund balance to begin with, as a carryover from the 1920 year. So that's going to give you a little bit more of a cushion to work with. But as far as cutting the budget to make up for the 870,000, that's going to be a little difficult.
Are we going to get anything?
Big item is your open enrollment. That's the culprit here.
You're absolutely right. We need students back in the school. That's the easy answer. That's where we need to go.
Carol, is the CARES Act going to help schools at all?
Is the what? I didn't get
The
that.
CARES Act, the new one, that changes a lot too, but nonprofits, you know, there's a lot of pieces in there to either carry your staff costs for 2 months or just help businesses stay in operation through this time. Part of the package is $1 trillion package package from the federal government.
For the COVID.
Yeah, the COVID package.
Oh, through the COVID thing, they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And everything I've read said there's more information to come. So I don't feel qualified to give you a definite answer on any of that. But as far as what I've read, we're supposed to be reimbursed for some things.
The
And,
college that owns the
Whether that
organization,
actually happens or how it happens, I don't know.
the
We follow,
college,
do you follow the SAA, for their, if you do, it's from the SSA advisory letter on school district budget planning for 2021. And they're talking about those kinds of things, what to kind of look for. And it's, that it seems like a good idea and all that, but be conservative and not really count on that until you know. And one of the things that they're talking about, the state might be changing their per pupil increases. And like for the best case scenario, there's $179 per student increase for the revenue limit calculation, but that's in the best case. So they're hoping that that will remain there. They could change it at the legislature since it's been, the state's taken a hit with the COVID thing. So they may do a no revenue limit increase, or they may do a $50 per student decrease. All those are laid out in this SAA narrative. And this sounds crazy, but Palmyra-Eagle, by losing enrollment the way it is, it's not going to be impacting you that much. I mean, maybe to the tune of $1,200 is all. Because with your declining enrollment aid, you're falling into that hold harmless. And I know I'm probably preaching in death about that, but you're falling into that hold harmless clause where you can't get less than 85% of the prior year. So this really isn't going to, no matter what they do at the state, it's not going to have much of an impact on my Eagle. So if you're seeing or reading that and thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to get hit again, I don't think you're going to get hit very hard at all. So I guess there's an upside to declining enrollment at this particular juncture. Hello?
Yeah, we're kind of stunned silence, really. Yeah, well, the COVID thing, the reimbursement, especially manufacturing, there's so much unknown. Nothing's really been approved. The state hasn't really approved anything yet for the CARES Act, which would, force the first week of unemployment as being waived. That has not yet been enacted. And everything's changing like by the minute.
well, what I was just saying is that the organization I work for is owned by a college. They just found out today or yesterday that their share of it is 1.4 million to disperse how they want through their campuses to continue operating. But that's a university. I don't know. I would assume.
Yeah, you're certainly going to have to look into that. You got to get your application in if that's the case. You have to get your number, and even though if you get a number, there's no guarantee you're going to get any money anyway.
Right, but we should try.
Well, we should try, absolutely. Make them say no, right? So who's responsible for then getting that application in at this point, is my question.
Carol, did you hear the question? Questions relative?
I'm sorry.
Question relative to who in the district, and I suspect that you and I would be filing notification or requesting a number for those dollars. How do you see that being distributed for public schools? I don't know that we qualify as a small business, but Doris was indicating that some colleges and universities are in that queue for money from the federal government.
Somehow you think, what?
Yeah, educational institutions is what it was listed as. I think we are one.
I hope that's true.
I mean, it would take someone doing the, looking into it, it's a process, but boy, we should be doing it.
Well, even if they said no, we've done our due diligence
Right.
and we've explored every option. That's the whole point of us being together, is exploring every option, right?
Getting all that.
I'll touch base with you on that topic.
Question, I don't think it's a good idea, this is just my opinion, but I don't think it's a good idea to compare us with the private sector, because there are certain requirements that are still going to remain in effect for schools, and particularly from the federal government. So, for instance, the maintenance of effort requirement, it doesn't sound like there's a waiver going to happen to forgive that we're still going to be required to meet that maintenance of effort requirement from the federal government. But the title programs, as I read it, sounds to me like they're going to allow us to carry over more funds simply because we didn't have the rest of the year to spend this year's allocation. So they're going to allow us to carry over a larger amount for next year, to use up next year. So schools fall into kind of an odd little location as far as I'm concerned when it comes to budgets like this, and things that are made available to the private sector don't always apply to us. Or it goes through a different route and there's other criteria that you have to meet in order to get it.
Like you mentioned, if we do find savings from things that didn't occur this year, we could potentially use them, then we can kind of save things for next year.
Correct. So what's not spent this year will go into your fund balance. And then you can use that to either bring your deficit down a little bit in next year's budget, or apply it to particular programs. It's all very fluid, guys. It really is. You're going to be able to tweak this weekly if you want to. You can tweak this as you get more information, and people who, you may have more people retire, more people resign, and so there's a change in the salary and a change in their benefit package. It's all very liquid.
Yeah, doing just a quick look here on the old internet, there's, in the CARES Act, there's something called the Education Stabilization Fund. They are putting aside $30 billion for public education. So I think somebody needs to dig into that and see if we fit into that arena.
Yep.
Steve, has there been any guidance or any comment from the Administrators Association or from WASB?
So WSB has done, it seems like almost every other day, some webinars. A lot of them are archived, and I know they've been following all of these stories since this whole thing began. Like the rest of us, they also are aware that the sands are always shifting and something new comes up or subtle nuance comes along the way. But I think WSB has been a pretty good resource.
And have they talked about the CARES Act?
I believe there was something I got today.
Okay,
But
so
I'm
they're,
gonna have to dig into it.
okay.
So just to clarify one thing, Carol, can you hear me? Or, I don't know if mine's on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You had just said that the money that is not spent, that has been budgeted, is something we can then save and put away to use. However, last week, when we were doing the vote to extend wages for our part-time staff, I believe we were told that we couldn't do that because it's budgeted, right? Or was I?
No.
So that's a total contradiction.
She's saying because of the changes, I think, is why.
So that has, okay, so that was true last week, was not true this week.
No, what she's talking
Say that, what was that said last week?
It was said last week we didn't need this, or we didn't, if we saved something, it wouldn't necessarily help us for the next year.
Right. That's how I.
So, and then that's because of the way it falls, it impacts the equalization aid formula. But it's not going to have an impact. Like, normally you try and expend all of your budget. Because if you underspend your budget, then it goes into the equalization aid formula as underspent, and then it's generating less equalization aid for you. But because of the condition in Palmyra-Eagle, there's, again, those hold harmless cause, that safe harbor, whatever you want to call it, they're not going to allow you to make less in equalization aid or in your revenue limit calculation. You cannot make less than 85% of the prior year. So your declining enrollment and has put you into that hold harmless area. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? It's just the way the formula falls. It's a very complicated document, and I'd be happy to share it with you, and you can see what, because they want to see what you spent in the prior year to determine your equalization aid in the next. But if you underspend it, you'll get less state aid, but that money is going into your fund balance because you understand it. I think I lost you.
No, I get it. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, so it's, you just gotta run the numbers and figure out which is better for you. But it sounds like in the long run, the amount we get is better than the amount that would perhaps be going into our fund balance. I just want to understand it better. Okay.
I would think it's reversed. That
Wait,
we're at the point with the hold harmless, we're at the point where it, I mean, you'd have to run the numbers, but it seems to me like with that hold harmless, we'd be at the point where it's better to add to our fund balance rather than spending. That's what I'm gathering. It's kind of a stupid system, really.
It is.
You should be
But yeah,
rewarded for saving your taxpayers' money and coming under budget rather than being penalized.
Carol, do you have other questions or other guidance that you would need to run some scenarios?
No, I'm going to, I'll plug in that 5% increase for the principals, and I'll take a look at the Palmyra utility costs and see, maybe I'll reduce them by some of that based on the percentage. Of course, we have mild winter, but I think I'll tone down the utilities a little bit too, and then I'll resend it to everyone.
Carol, can you also factor in, because like consolidating all of our elementary students to Eagle Elementary where we have the cleaning service, we know the bid there, can you factor, because we have a cleaning service or we have our own employees that are cleaners at Palmyra Elementary, can you give us a cost on which one is preferable? And so we can look at maybe there's a savings with the cleaning service, or maybe there's a savings by having our own employees, but we don't need both teams.
Okay.
So there, I mean, there's a set of savings as well.
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
And that's the other thing with the support staff. That's still in there at everyone that was there in 1920. So, as there's changes made there, or you, I don't know if there's any layoffs planned for that group as well. They're in there at the full force. Yeah. So there's a little savings as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of
If there's
employee
some
overlaps
layoffs
we
there.
would need.
So we, just for clarity, in Eagle, we outsource the cleaning, is that correct? And then we insource it here in Palmyra. Well, yeah, we certainly want to compare side by side because there could be some savings of just outsourcing it versus insourcing it. So you'll have to look and see what all that means, yeah, right?
So Carol, from the buildings and grounds standpoint, what information do you need from us when we sit down with Rich as far as what help do you need, what can we give you?
Well, if you know what that that list of projects that you, it's been distributed several different times. If you can come up with like, maybe prioritize those and the ones that you want to do this year, then we can plug those into the scenario as well.
Okay, and with the staffing for
I don't
which,
know if you're planning to do all 414,000 of it.
No,
No,
piece of it was Palmyra. Yep.
So that's what, yeah, that needs to be pared down then. And I know the building and grounds committee, if they are planning to do that, I don't know.
And that, can we suggest that as that building ground, who's chairman? You want
I believe Tom.
yeah, we'll need to have a meeting here now. That's what the part of this was about tonight, to see what you need from us also.
Yeah, any items that keep the students safe is obviously a priority, but anything after that is open for discussion, right?
Well, and pretty much eliminate, unless it's like, we got a lot of checking we can do, because there's one school less.
So Tom, let me know that if you want me to agenda buildings and grounds prior to Tuesday board meeting.
Yeah,
we
let me
already
think.
have PR.
Possibly, yeah. But that may not be the entire committee as we discussed, but yeah, take a look at what you're thinking and let me know.
Okay.
I think we're saving on the heat tonight. Maybe it's freezing. That's why I want to drink your extra short. But that's a good thing, hey, we're saving on
So
the heat.
Carol, anything else then that would assist you moving forward, and or any other questions or comments from the board?
Not that I can think of, I guess, no, not at this point. I mean, this is kind of how it goes, you progress, you kind of chip away at it, and you get something resolved, and then you move on to the next thing, so I appreciate this input.
There may potentially be some savings once we know what the 4-day week will look like in terms of programming for transportation.
Oh, good point, oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, I need to understand that a little bit more to see if there's going to be any kind of a savings realized from that. I know last week we talked about, or I guess I asked if that 5th day off is a compensation for a 5% decrease in wages, or are they still going to be working? Are we going to be cleaning crews? I don't know what that 5th day looks like. I guess, and that I will need to have.
So point being, there may be some savings realized once that's fleshed out.
Right. I mean, if you're offering classes that day, are you going to transport, or are you going to feed them? Or are we going to be able to save hours for food service staff by not having to work on that 5th day? Those kinds of questions. Oh, God, I can't believe I forgot one for nothing. Yeah, that's kind of a biggie.
That's on the curriculum policy agenda, is it not?
Yes. It could be
Oh, okay.
significant.
Cool. And I don't know if are they going to be ordering a textbook series? I guess that's a question for the principal and Steve. If,
I'll double check, but I don't believe there's anything scheduled. Nothing scheduled or planned in terms of new adoptions.
Okay.
What was
Okay.
submitted by Mrs. Retsky looked like we were very current.
Most of what we would have to order would be consumables, workbooks, and those kinds of things. And a lot of that will be dependent upon numbers of students in those grade levels.
Absolutely.
But no new adoptions.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
guess I don't have anything else.
Did we, with IT, what happened with IT? I remember we talked about it, it was in one of the meetings.
Right, I've got, that'll be in your board packet for Tuesday's meeting. There are some reductions in savings
Thank you.
in wages.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
Stay
Okay.
safe.
You're
Good
welcome.
job, Carol, thank you.
If there's anything else, let me know, and I will appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Carol.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, well, was that it for the portion? Good for now? Move on to B, the management of board, committee, meetings in this COVID-19 pandemic.
So I think in terms of moving forward, the board has a couple of things that you can consider. We've not held yet a regular school board meeting in the midst of COVID-19. We will be looking at that obviously Tuesday of next week. State law still indicates that every board has to at least once a month hold a regular board meeting. So next week will be our opportunity. A couple of things for you to consider in order from least impactful, least amount of change in terms of previous history and practice to most restrictive are as follows. One, and I'm talking specifically about citizens' comments, would be to hold a regular meeting in this setup, a large enough area to permit social distancing and permit public comments to go on as they typically do. Be mindful that by law, you do not have to, as a board, agenda public comments. The board in Palmyra-Eagle historically has. So that's one thing. Just don't change anything, meet in a larger venue, keep your agenda as it is, and allow comments as they have in the past. Second option, with a mind to trying to reduce the amount of people that might gather together, would be to create a dedicated email to which individuals could send their comments that could then be read into the record at the regularly scheduled board meeting. That's kind of the middle of the road option. Then the most significant step that you could take would be on next week's agenda, prior to citizens' comments, taking action to temporarily suspend the taking of citizens' comments at either a date that you designate or at a point in time when the coronavirus pandemic comes and goes. And I have wording that could be included on the agenda from our legal counsel. So you've got basically change nothing. Here's a middle of the road approach, provide an opportunity where people can participate but wouldn't have to physically show up. And then the third, which would be you're going to temporarily suspend your current policy which permits, and practice which permits citizens' comments. So basically looking for your feedback. Obviously the first one requires no change. The second would be creating and then publicizing the dedicated email. And then the third would be a resolution by the board prior to on the agenda next week to temporarily suspend.
So all of them still permit citizens from coming and gathering at board meetings, correct? It would just be a different way to do.
So we do an in-person meeting like we have a work session.
Well, I think as long as people can still come, the people who want to make a comment and do not want to go out in public, that would give them a venue they don't have now. Option two.
I think give them an option. We can allow, if you want to show up in person, go ahead and show up here, we'll let you talk. But if you want to send an email in and let them know it'll be read in at the meeting, I think that's a
Yeah, so that
good
would
way to
combine
put
them
them
both.
together. Then nobody feels excluded and you can't get slammed for not, well, I don't want to show up, but I want to talk. We give you an option now and it'll be read in.
Right, I think, yeah, kind of melding one and two.
Is that consensus?
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. And I'll work with Ryan on establishing that dedicated email.
With a reminder that it's not a question answer thing, like we.
We're using the same language.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
what are the guidelines for public comment? I mean, are we gonna let somebody go to a 20-page tirade in an email, or
I think there's time.
So, yeah, so your current practice is to permit no more than 30 minutes of the meeting for citizens' comments. The board chair has the ability to restrict or limit those comments to 2 to 3 minutes per speaker, and/or if there tends to be 5, 6, 7, 8 comments that are very similar, to terminate those comments if you've already heard. Keep in mind that it is not a Q&A, it is not a give and take.
Right. I think that provided that there are the guidelines and the boundaries, that I would agree then with the rest of the board that giving them every opportunity to provide comment, no restriction whatsoever, should be allowed, but within the boundaries that are set. I just had, the reason why I didn't say anything is because it was kind of going through my head like, well, what kind of Pandora's box are we truly opening? But if they follow the guidelines, then I have no problem.
And each and every board is kind of wrestling with this at a different level. I can tell you that you are not the only board that has continued to choose to meet in public. You are not alone.
For the email comments, could we restrict it to a word limit? I mean,
I would suggest trampling on freedom of speech.
but we adhere to a time limit. So,
Have them just keep it around X.
Well, I would suggest then that if then that becomes, since it's read into the record, that somebody on the board or someone do
A
3
time.
minutes on their phone, and then when it dings, then the reading is done.
Okay.
That'd be a way to solve that.
perfect.
That's a good.
I don't think they should have extra just because they're
No, of course
emailing
not.
versus somebody who's coming in person.
That's all, thank you.
On to item C, the discussion of payment for spring sport coaches.
So I included in your materials for tonight a summary of some recommendations from Joel Tortomasi, in addition to a costing for if the board so decides to pay spring sport coaches. So taking you back a little bit, when we first met as a leadership team and had this conversation on the first day of the shutdown, at that point we thought we might be out a couple of weeks. Well, then that's turned now into a couple of months. I will say in some instances, however, coaches for spring sports have done some pre-season opportunities with students in the gymnasiums, for example, softball, baseball, those kinds of things. So some coaches have done some work already. On a conference call with the Trailways the other day, and Carrie, are you still sitting behind me? So you can kind of back up some of this. I can tell you that it's really all over the place in terms of what districts are doing. Some have just unilaterally decided to pay whatever the letter of assignment amount would be for that coach for that sport flat out. Others are paying at 100% but are requiring them to do certain things. There are some online learning modules through the National High School Coaches Association, for example. They're having coaches go through. In other instances, some of the districts are paying a pro rata with an assumption that we're not going to return and not have spring sports season. So some are paying 25% or 20% of whatever that amount might be. Now, you do need to know that for some of our coaches, they are brand new hires and perhaps have not invested any time. So depending upon the feedback I get from you, it's going to depend on where we go. So I'm looking for some sense. Again, we don't know whether we'll return. We don't know whether seasons will be expedited. There's been nothing from the WIAA at this particular point in time that's provided any further definition for us. And Carrie, you were a part of that conference call. I don't know if you want to add
The
anything.
only thing I would add is at least no one verbally said they were not paying them anything. I don't know if people were thinking it or doing it, and no one that I remember seeing out loud said we're not paying our spring coaches anything.
I would say, having been a coach in different things, I applaud any of our coaches that have taken on the responsibility and they don't get paid anywhere another face-to-face point, and we just approved taking care of our other staff, so I would like to, we want these people to come back and coach again next year.
Right.
I would like to take care of them.
Is this the total amount, Steve, that you gave us the spreadsheet on, the Pete, that's the coaching stipend, that's just total that we take it for our season?
Right, Shelley, Thomas provided that information that I then included for you, so it's just shy of $40,000 for all the middle and high school spring sport coaches, including head and assistant coaches.
And Carrie, are almost all of these staff?
I would guess it's maybe 60-40. To be real honest, I like to wear a shirt that says I'm not the athletic director anymore. I can't honestly answer that 100%. Steve, is that about right?
Some
60%
are.
staff, 40% not?
10 of 14 are on staff.
Okay, so more.
Either certified teachers or aides.
Okay, so more higher than I would have thought. So yeah, probably 75 to 80 then.
Okay, I thought I recognized one.
And a couple of them that are not, like soccer, he's in at least his third or fourth year, so I mean, it's not a ton of new people, there is a couple of assistants. I don't think there's any new head coaches.
Girls track.
Oh, yeah.
And will there still be a savings because we're not traveling to these?
Yeah, I mean, it's serious, there's no official being paid, you're not traveling to games, there's no invites that you're going to. Yeah, I mean, I would think there's still a savings, some to the district, yeah.
Minimally, again, you're not traveling to away games and meets and matches.
And that was one of the arguments I saw in an article Joel shared today was, there still is a savings about making the human be the savings, I guess is the best way to look at it.
I would like to see them be in touch with the students, and if each of them could put together some kind of program for their, the high school seniors, unfortunately, it's over, but there's more years to come. Students will be competing, so I would like to see that.
I just would advise, make sure that we give Joel, make sure they don't do that and send a mixed message that somewhere somebody thinks we're gonna be returning, so we want you engaging. I don't want to be accused of hyping them up that we're gonna be returning, so get out there running and practicing, but, yeah.
Well,
So what are you recommending to us? What would you recommend?
who are you asking?
Both of you.
I don't have a recommendation.
No recommendation from Steve. Carrie, what's your recommendation?
I would pay them. I mean, when we originally started, I told Steve, pay them. I'll be honest, it was a little more money than I thought, so part of me was like, oh, maybe we can cut it. But after I talked to Joel today, I mean,
Well, when we started, we thought we were coming back too.
yeah, and we didn't think we were coming back. And
Well,
we still don't know we're not
We
coming
don't,
back.
that's correct, we do not know that we're not.
I mean, we're getting closer and closer to the end of April with not a whole lot of changes in the life of the world every day here.
So
I
is
mean,
it,
with most of these staff members, and even, I don't know.
So I
no, I appreciate the recommendation. I mean, we're a board and we have to discuss whether or not we want to accept your recommendation or not.
Yeah.
I don't think
I mean,
we
it's
need
money
to.
in a district that doesn't have a lot of money, but our human capital is a big deal, and I guess that's all.
Well, there's going to be life in another month or so, so we need to cognitively know that.
Yeah.
But us as a board, here we're just, we don't need to sit here and try and recreate things.
Yeah.
You're recommending that we pay. I would ask the board members, are we making that decision tonight, or are we going to defer that to next week's board meeting?
Well, our athletic director's recommendation was what I was looking at too, and he's obviously recommended, so we kind of have to choose.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
well, they're in alignment then,
We're
which is good.
we're looking for some direction. I don't know that we're looking for official action, just like we did take official action to pay hourly people through April. We're just looking for some guidance and direction. And I think if what I'm hearing is that the payment would come with some type of a plan, and perhaps those coaches could share those plans with Joel as the athletic director, and then there's some kind of evidence that they'd engage those students in
Sure.
those processes.
My 2 cents on this is, one, we would be, if we had spring athletics, we'd be paying out for, as they mentioned, all the travel, the referees, etc., which we're not. And we'd also be paying the coaches. So here, right, and it's budgeted. So much like the decision that we talked about last week, where we decided to pay the staff, it's nothing extra. fact, not only would we be paying the coaches, and maybe we talk about some proactive or prorated, I should say, piece to it, but at the same time, we're still incurring this cost savings because of the closure, the temporary closure at the moment. So that's my 2 cents for us to think of, right?
But I think we do incur some savings, so that's the good news is we already set the precedent to pay hourly. So I think it's kind of a good idea to maintain what we're doing.
Yeah, we may send the wrong message at that point.
So I think that's one thing that is helpful. These are the other pieces of the puzzle that I think we didn't think about last week, but we now are made aware. So I think I'm inclined to say that to be consistent, that we would cover their cost in terms of what the time. I agree that I think most spring coaches have been doing work prior to the time, and I think they'll continue to do work because that's what coaches do. So I would be inclined that they should get compensated for the extra that they do, and to be able to maintain and keep them if we were to open. You couldn't
Yeah.
rush to get somebody then. That would
The
be
other piece of the pie is, okay, fine, we're not gonna pay you, they're no longer interested, they seek out
right.
other venues, and oh, by the way, everything turned back on, mid-May with an extension in summer. Okay, well, now you have no coaching staff.
Right, what if there's something like that, where you do something to change sports, we're gonna have these sports, I don't know, there's
There
a
was
lot.
some speculation by the meeting that we were at in terms of maybe this is extended, and then what, we started occurring with clubs and other activities, and who knows?
Yeah,
Right.
nobody.
And for the kids, I mean, some kids actually look more up to their coaches than their teachers, sad to say, but for some certain kids, I mean, that coach is a really huge, important part of their lives. They're helping them in way more ways than just telling them to run around the track 4 times, so I like the coaches are gonna do that probably
Right.
anyway, so that's,
But it's the other part of the curriculum that you offer as a school, you're not just teaching academics, you're also providing extracurricular, so this keeps that stable and keeps that going.
We talked about that, it was going
I want to thank Joe for putting together the information that was shared with you. Also, one of the things that the conference decided, and I forget the date of the light the field.
Yeah, I just talked to Joel about that. It is April 17th, I believe. I don't know, you've probably seen there's a campaign going on, the light up, where,
Like me
schools
up.
are turning out their athletic field lights and kind of support of kids in school and blah, blah, blah. So the Trailways Conference is gonna do it. Is it the 17th, Steve?
I thought so.
Yeah, so I just talked to Joel and said that we need to advertise, and then they're telling families they're free to drive, like obviously to drive our drive across the back, but not stop and hang out of the car or any of that, so. And I think we'll participate in that as well. One more thing on spring coaches, they're not paid until the season's over, so end of May, early June, so we're either gonna know nobody did anything, or they came back and they coached.
I talked to
So,
Shelley.
not gonna pay anybody that doesn't.
Yeah, so just like every other, they're paid at the end of the season, and typically Shelley pays at the end of May.
Okay.
Now, if the seasons are extended, as was suggested, then we'll pay at the end of whenever that season concludes.
All right, makes sense.
All right, perfect. Thanks for your feedback.
Okay, on to D, Lakeland Coach Lines, Transportation Services Discussion.
So as a preface, I have not been approached by Sue or Blaine from Lakeland on this matter, although I do know in local area newspapers and so forth, this has come up as a conversation. Our contract with Lakeland does not indicate any obligation or responsibility, by my read, for you to be obliged to pay Lakeland for a service that's not provided to our students. So in other words, since we've been closed, we're not transporting kids to school. Again, I've not been asked directly by Sue or Blaine. It's come to me second or third hand, and there's been some curiosity around that. So again, I'm not looking for a decision, but just some guidance and some feedback in the event I am asked.
Well, I do know that, I guess I could use this, that there are fixed costs associated with running the business, so I know that they're locked into fixed costs, costs are set for the year, where we probably potentially have savings, or they might have, would be fuel costs would be the one area, but it's not gonna be huge, I don't believe.
That's our cost. No. We're saving that at least. And I agree with you, Gene. I mean, the fixed costs are there. I mean, he has to have X amount of buses to serve us. If we turn him off, what does he do? He has no alternative to do anything else to earn some income from that.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that as well. I mean, who knew a pandemic would come, right? Nobody plans for that. How are we billed, by the way? Are we billed just one lump sum, or is it by miles and by
Monthly.
gallons, monthly?
Monthly, and then so during certain times of the year, obviously, let's use winter as an example for extracurriculars with boys and girls basketball, middle and high school going on. There's a lot of after-school to and from. But those are all included in a monthly statement.
So I think we'll see reduced monthly.
And so in hours, basically, we'd get like a flat fee for a number of hours used or something?
So X number of hours that will be paid for a driver if they're driving, let's say, to Horicon, and they wait there with the bus to transport back. So that's, the driver cost is also included there. Fuel prices would be included, but as Tom suggested, that's kind of some of the savings. Not unlike the coaches, we're not traveling anywhere for extracurriculars right now.
I think we'd have to at least meet our obligation of the overhead fees.
I have a question. If we're going to look at the bus company that way, we have a cleaning contract for Eagle Elementary, but they're not cleaning, they're not providing our service. And I'm not trying to sound harsh, however, we have a contract. What do we do on snow days? Are we billed for snow days?
That contract can be terminated at any point in time, and Rich has terminated that contract effective with the shutdown. So in other words, there is no contract with the cleaning service.
Okay, but with our bus company on snow days, what do we do with them? I mean, I'm not trying to sound harsh, however, I think our bus bill for the last month was like $84,000. It's not unsubstantial.
Transportation is the largest vendor contract we hold.
So, snow days, do we pay for those or do we know?
I don't know. Do you know?
The,
Bless you.
Because typically Tracy will
yeah,
receive the statement and then
the standard busing contract invoice is the same every month. That does not change. Then they bill us separately for special ed busing and for 4K busing. And if we have a snow day on one of those days, I do not believe they charge us for that day. I could be wrong, but those bills fluctuate every month based on the number of days that they're transporting each month.
Well, I saw in the contract where it said about the sports and the hours, and it did say with some of the other things, but I didn't see about snow days or anything like that. So, once again, we have a contract. Are we doing our due diligence, once again, to, look at the situations? And I'm wondering how the CARE Act applies to the bus company as well. And I'm truly not trying to be harsh, I'm just trying to look at this objectively.
No, which we have to do,
Yeah, I think we should have it on there to have a discussion to see where this, how things are gonna change due to what has occurred.
Yeah, we could maybe have a discussion and see if we can't, are they getting a discount now because they're not running buses, so why are they paying insurance, right? You've been watching the news, was it Allstate or State Farm was giving back $600 million or something to that? Yeah, so, those are things that, yeah, absolutely, we can start asking some questions. It's not about being harsh, it's about asking
Right,
questions.
it's just you gotta do just the see
It's
it's
2% off your car insurance because you're not driving.
So So typically, transportation would fall under the finance committee, and we can certainly have a finance committee and have Lane and Sue come in, have a conversation.
I think that's a good idea.
And could we also put a feeler out with like Trailways or some of our other counterparts or the Wisconsin School Board Association and see, I know a lot of other schools use larger contracted bus companies, but there still has to be some kind of general consensus of what everybody's,
Yeah, what is everybody else doing? Yeah, good question.
And I do think they're in contact with everybody else too. I think he is pretty knowledgeable of the rest of the marketplace.
but I think, you know, both sides of the coin, we need to really look at it, I think.
Yep.
I'll pursue then a finance committee meeting and then coordinate that with Lane and Sue.
As well as the other sources, right? I mean, just get some input from those other sources.
Yeah,
I suspect that there are some vendors that probably have a contract with particular districts that have, for whatever reason, foreseen something during a shutdown, a crisis where there's an obligation to continue to pay. The dilemma is, as Michael said, no one predicted a pandemic, and so it's kind of created questions that maybe didn't exist before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that a lot of insurance carriers are pretty much denying any kind of catastrophic failure clause. So, you know, but we should ask questions to our neighbors. What are they doing? Especially there's some up for referendum or work.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're looking for cost savings too. Kettle Moraine, East Troy, you know, maybe we can reach out and find out what they're doing.
East Troy has own buses. Oh, yeah, for example, yeah.
I would track East Troy has their own buses, so.
Well, but I suspect they have an answer to your question.
Oh, yeah, probably. Well, there's some drivers, but.
Yeah.
Buses.
Exactly.
For those district employees. Well, they have to be every bus. Yeah. Not many of these.
Anything else?
Appreciate the feedback, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, then we would move, ask for a motion to move to closed session.
I would so move.
I'll second that, or Jean can.